It's the art of storytelling, and this section is going to deal with the types of heroes that could help you to make a really good connection with your audience. So at the outset, if I start to talk about how people connect, one of the first type of story characters that you can use that is a really powerful one is the underdog. Now, what do I mean with an underdog? Well, I think that in our daily lives, possibly all of us are kind of underdogs. I mean, if you really strip all of the Instagram moments and the pouty moments with the right backgrounds and the wonderful life, I think all of us struggle. All of us are real people. All of us have real issues that we deal with, which to me makes all of us underdogs. So if you had to go and look at the underdogs that inspire us, then possibly in this space, the fact that all of us are underdogs helps us to see a tale that in an inspirational way lifts our spirits when one of those underdogs actually makes it. So in a story where an underdog is seemingly set up to fail, it really surprises us, and because of that emotional connection that we make with a character who doesn't seem to be able to make it, or that we don't think is going to make it, the surprise element and the delight when we see that character make it at the end of a story really is that specific spike of the yellow or the blue that we want at the end, because that is going to make us trigger some kind of response. So if you go and look at some underdogs in movies just to demonstrate it, I would say here are a few underdogs. See if you can recognize one or two of them. Karen was fast before when she said Thelma and Louise. Let's see if she can hit it again. But as you look at some of those characters, these are the ones that we remember because they were underdogs that we rooted for and we made a deep connection with. There they are. It was Rocky, the Kung Fu Panda jumped out, and Forrest Gump, who's a big favorite of mine as well. So far, nobody responded. Let's move into looking at anti-heroes as well. So in the same way that an underdog is a character that's interesting, if we have a character that's just a hero, and I'm going to give you something like a Superman or so, there's a difference between a Superman on the one end of the scale and I'm going to forget his name, the Lannister chap in the Game of Thrones, because the two characters are both heroes, but they're very different. The one is set up to be a hero, and that is Superman, who is just a hero. He wants to save the world. He sets out to save the world, and that's his mission. But in a funny way, that kind of protagonist always does the right thing. Now, how would it be if we had one that sometimes did the right thing? Can you see how that immediately makes the character a lot more compelling? And I think in that golden era of comic strip books, comic books really worked with that undertone that was there at the time. You know, if you start looking at the 60s and 70s, these characters evolved because they were, in a funny kind of way, anti-heroes. And because of that, we liked them, because Batman wasn't always good. Sometimes he was a little bit strange. And the Hulk wasn't always good. He had this huge temper on him and he broke things. And so you see an era of anti-heroes that happened, and those make a really great connection with us because they aren't just straight characters anymore. There's something interesting about them. How do we bring this back to what it is that you're doing? Well, can you see if there's a way that you can work with a character that's a little bit off kilter and a little bit more interesting to let somebody sit up and go, wait a minute, what's going on here? There's another one which is almost close to a villainous kind of character, and this is really antagonists. I think antagonists have feelings too. Now, how can we build that in for a story that you're telling? Well, one of the first things I thought of was maybe you could make the problem or the point that you're trying to work against in your talk be a personality, and that can be the antagonist. Now, the moment you start working with that, there's a connection, because if we understand how the antagonist feels, I'm trying to think of a show where it's almost a kind of a Dexter, who's kind of an anti-hero, but he's almost the antagonist as well in the story. You start connecting with this character because it's against everything that you feel is right, but it still has it's still doing something good as well, or there's still something that challenges you to connect. And because of that kind of connection, I think ultimately by the end of it, you are in conflict, and it stirs up emotions for this situation or this character or this problem that'll really make you connect. And remember those spikes at the end, maybe that is something that in your presentation has this incredible spike when perhaps the bad does win. Perhaps evil does overcome, but it is something that is going to make a striking connection. And I thought to show you a few of those incredible villains that we love to hate. There are a lot of my favorite actors and actresses there. So as I close this section, I would say the 4 R's of storytelling. There are R's and P's. Definitely be respectful of the audience and their time. Make it relatable, make it resonate, and make the characters real. So at the end, I'd say, go out and tell great stories.